Hi everyone, welcome to Wednesday night business conversations with myself, Peter Doak, and my co-host Martin Gilchrist of Gilchrist & Co. Chartered Accountants. Martin, you were telling me before we came on that this is episode 9 of our Wednesday night business conversations, and it doesn't feel like that at all. To me, it feels like we've been doing this for maybe a few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but nine weeks. Where does the time go? Tonight I am recording from our headquarters here in PDG Advertising's headquarters. Hopefully you can see some of our branding in the corners and on the window, on my hoodie, and actually on my mug here as well. But I'm super excited tonight because we have a wonderful guest, and just before we bring them on, I'd love to tell you again just a little bit about what we're doing here. So these business conversations are the slightly more lighthearted, maybe sometimes a little bit more personal, a little bit more raw conversations from business. It came from Martin and I and others speak about business and how things are growing with us in business all the time, and we felt that it was probably a great opportunity to share that, and it's been quite a journey so far. So that is what we're going to get into this evening. Martin, anything you want to go over before we introduce our guest?
Yes.
And I'll leave the introducing up to you.
Yeah, I'll do the introduction. I'll introduce Jake now because that's part of what I want to say. I came across Jake because he had reached out, or I had got in contact with him in regard to a product, an online product called Crezco, and I'm going to let Jake tell us about that. But the thing about Jake was he really impressed me right away. You know, sometimes you talk to someone within 1 or 2 minutes. You have to think about a first impression, Peter. Sometimes you pick up something on the very first impression, the first 10, 15, 20 seconds of talking to someone that really gives you sort of feel, right, this is someone I want to do something with or not. And Jake's one of those people that does that makes a marvelous first impression. So let's see what sort of first impression he makes when he first comes on. Before we do that, in relation to our audience and what we're going to do. So Peter and I were talking about how we make sure that we make the best of the guest. And what we've decided to do, rather than interrupting him and confusing ourselves by trying to bring people in and out, all the rest, the audience is very welcome. So Declan, Michelle, and Jamie, please do use the chat feature, and if you have questions either for Jamie or Jake or Peter or I, or if you want to tell us about your business or share your website link or any of that good stuff, do it in the chat. And if you have a question, what we will do is we will ask them towards the end of the conversation. So if there are questions in the chat, or if there are comments that you want us to let everybody else know and go into the recording, we will deal with those towards the end, maybe in the last 10 minutes or so. Is that fair enough, Peter?
Sounds good.
Yep, sounds good. Well, without further ado, because the hour goes in very, very quickly every week that we do this, it just flies and we run out of time. Let's bring our illustrious guest, Mr. Jake Tansley from Crezco, on.
Hello,
everyone.
Hi, Jake.
Hi, how are you going?
Good.
We are very well. Jake, in order that we don't waste all the good time that we're going to have with you, let's get into the nitty gritty of what it is we're here today. So it's all about you and all about Crezco and all about that great stuff. So give us the introduction in the teacup. Is that an expression?
Introduction in a teacup. It's an interesting one. And
yeah,
just
not one I've heard.
While we're on that subject, we will be listed out for what to name this podcast or this video cast, and that's coming up quite highly already.
I'll write that down. Introduction in the teacup. In a nutshell, is it a nutshell? Give us that introduction, Jake. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so just an overview is that Crezco is a fintech startup, so working in the payment sector with open banking, both very sort of high growth, high energy sectors. So very exciting to be a part of. I guess the main selling points are we can process payments sort of instantly for free, and it's a lot more of a sort of slick setup because we integrate directly with the banks with open banking. So yeah, very interesting to be a part of.
Very good. So tell us about you.
Jake,
the man with the impressive beard and the headset.
That's a trickier question. Yeah, well, I joined Crezco sort of maybe 6 months ago now, after working in sort of traditional finance in Canary Wharf, which was probably not my cup of tea. Lots of blue navy suits and walking around in big buildings. And before that, just education really. So my background's in sort of management, international business, that sort of thing, and yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of a business side of things, I guess. It depends how much you want to know, really.
Oh, we want to know all the details, but maybe we'll not do it on a recorded broadcast.
Probably safer, yeah.
Let's stick to the safe stuff. Where are you right now in the world?
I am in London, South Hampstead. So yeah, Swiss Cottage area, which is quite good because the company's actually based in Notting Hill, so it's yeah, very, very close by.
Do you like to read, Jake, or are you putting books behind you in order to look a lot more intelligent?
It's a bit of both, I have to say. Reading for me sort of comes and goes depending on how busy I am at work. It's probably one of those things that happens with a lot of people, right? They sort of buy a load of books, they say that they're going to get through them, it's great, but other things pop up. But happily my girlfriend reads a lot, so I get to sort of bolster my collection and make it look a bit more eclectic.
Yeah, she can tell you, you know, what's going on in those in the business books as well. Here's a question for both of you. Do you listen to, actually I know your answer, Martin, but if you were going to do a book, do you do an audio book, or would you rather sit with the paper book, Jake?
I prefer sitting with paper books, but what I usually do is, so every book I've read I will have a copy of, and then I'll probably also have the audiobook, so I'll sort of flick in between both. If I'm on the tube on the way to work, I'll probably put an audiobook in, but if I'm sort of relaxing, taking the time to read a book, I'll definitely prefer it with the hardcover, hopefully. That's
interesting. I find it, I'm sure I absorb more of the book when I'm reading it physically or through my eyes, but I enjoy being able to go out for a walk and listen to an audiobook. Martin, what do you prefer?
I really do. I like the old-fashioned book. I'm at an age now where I have never been. I think this is something that levels out, tells people how old you are. This is a complete definer. Absolutely tells people how old you are. I have never been on Tinder. Never been on Tinder. I know what it is, but I cannot go onto it because I was married before Tinder was made. And the last thing I could ever do, if I even thought about going on Tinder, I think that's a grounds for divorce. So yeah, I'm sort of old-fashioned that way. I sort of read. It's that a sign that I'm old-fashioned? I've never been on Tinder.
Well, the comparison between dating in, I was about to say the olden days, but I think that's unacceptable, and dating these days in Tinder. Well, the business conversations video did take an interesting turn in the last 30 seconds.
Didn't take long, did it?
Well, that popped up a question, Peter, in relation to books you've read and things that influence you. And there's an old cliche that you are the combination of the 5 people you spend most time with, Jake. But what I want to know is, who are the 3 people that have influenced you most in your life, and how or why have they impacted? So who is it's making an impact on Jake Tansley?
Well, I guess it's always good to start with the kind of idols growing up, and certainly sort of been quite into rugby. I think it's a great sport that sort of builds a lot of good characteristics within someone. And my dad's from New Zealand, so I can't avoid supporting the All Blacks, which isn't great at the moment considering the performance against Ireland. Yeah. I'm going to have to leave the call in a second if that continues. But I mean, Jonah Lomu, I mean, you can't get around it. He was a superstar, wasn't he? And
an incredible person.
I used to play on the wing back in the day, and I'm 6'3", and definitely growing up with smaller people having to be on the wing, it was quite a good sort of showcase of, you know what, if you're really going to go and do something, you can kind of do whatever you want.
He was definitely up there with the likes of Usain Bolt, wouldn't he be? I
Yeah.
think he was world famous for his power and that thing that he did. Everybody knows who Jordan was.
Yeah, I think he's probably rugby's first superstar. I can't picture anyone before him that sort of had that amount of fame. But yeah, exciting to watch. So I guess that captures people's attention. So he's probably the person I would go to straight away. As for the other two, it's a little bit more tricky. I guess on a personal side of things, I was influenced a lot by my grandfather, who's quite a interesting guy in the world of pharmacology. He basically sort of set up pharmacovigilance, which is the reporting of pharmaceutical like side effects and things like that. And really, it was sort of like the birth of big data in pharmaceuticals. So it was quite an interesting thing to be around, and he traveled a lot as well, which is kind of gave birth to my love of traveling too. I probably couldn't pick a third one. Do you guys have any sort of go-tos that you would answer for this question as well?
Good point, Peter. Who's yours if you were to pick one?
I mean, not personal ones. I've plenty of personal ones, but in terms of business idols, it would be the Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, so I was in an advertising agency, cutthroat one in Belfast, before I set up my own. And it was around the time that I started listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. And I reckon that without listening to his podcasts, which, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, he's like a digital marketer, stroke action hero, stroke talker. It's very hard to describe what he is. To describe him to an alien would be almost impossible. But he is very inspirational in business and digital advertising. And without his podcast, I don't know if my business would exist. I don't know if I would have had the motivation, the get up and go, the structure to do it. So certainly Gary Vaynerchuk. I think Elon Musk. I know he puts out a lot of, I don't want to say, he puts out a lot of interesting stuff on Twitter and about Twitter and tries to buy Twitter and things like that. But anyone who creates a rocket that can land itself on the sea is doing something right. Give him more stuff to do to figure out, in my opinion. And then there's another interesting one. Well, I think it's interesting. I was in Edinburgh doing a walking tour once, and I went to, it was on the Golden Mile, I think you call it, and there's a little kirkyard, a graveyard, and I was half listening, half drinking Starbucks, half being amazed by, I don't know, kilts and tartan and Scottish things, Greyfriars Bobby, all that stuff. And out of the corner of my ear, which again is not the right thing, but out of the corner of my ear on the audio walking tour that I heard of a grave in the kirkyard that had flowers on it. And I looked at the graveyard and I thought, that is too old graveyard to have anybody that has anybody living relative to them. And this grave was covered in flowers. And I thought, that's weird. I got to see what this is about. And it was the grave of a person called Adam Smith. And Adam Smith wrote this book, and I'm sure more books like An Economist, The Wealth of Nations. You guys have probably heard of him, but I had never heard of this person at all. And there's one thing that I really love about his theories in that, and one was, the hidden hand of whenever you spend some money in a local shop, that it goes around the community and it goes around the economy, and it's like a kind of a ripple effect going around. And I thought that was amazing. So those are the three names that spring to mind immediately for me, and it's a long-winded way of saying it. Martin, same question to you.
One person. I could name hundreds of people that have been influential in my life, but the one person who has absolutely been most influential, without a doubt, no question about it. And Peter, you probably know, and it's probably a corny answer, but it's the answer that's true. And it's the lady who has the name over the door in our practice, Michelle Gilchrist. When Michelle found me destitute and on
in a sorry state of affairs.
A sorry state of affairs. I was about 21 years old. I had literally no money in my pocket, and holes in my shoes, and a broken tooth. I used to drink and smoke and do all the fun things that young people do. I no longer drink or smoke. I barely had a qualification to my name. And she did something in my life that turned me around. She got me through university. She got me through my professional exams. She brought me into business with her. She has made my life the fantastic success it is today. She has given me a brilliant son and a wonderful home, and the opportunity ongoing to do stuff like this. The only reason I'm able to sit here and talk with Jake and talk with you, Peter, and have the time to do all this stuff and not have to go and do a job that I wouldn't be very good at is because of the support and the leadership and the motivation and the inspiration and all the great stuff. And I get to work with a genuine, consummate, top of their game professional who knocks it out of the park every single day, tirelessly and with enthusiasm and with an unbridled sense of professionalism that I have never seen. I've seen many great professionals, but genuinely and seriously, I've never seen anybody quite like I've seen from Michelle. So that's an easy question for me to answer. I feel corny saying it because, oh yeah, my wife, I love my wife. It's there's that
what do they say, Martin? Behind every good man is a better woman.
Well, something like that. And in this case, it's definitely true. But yeah, that's an easy one for me.
Fabulous. That is absolutely fabulous. Jake, I don't understand totally Martin understands totally your game and what you do and everything. I don't really understand it totally, so I'm going to be the bringer of dumb questions to this session for sure, if you don't mind. I would love to hear a little bit more about Crezco and what it is and what it does. Who's like the customer who can use it and things like that. That would be fascinating to me, and I think our listeners, viewers.
Yeah, certainly. I think probably a good place to start is what kind of gave the inspiration for the business in the first place. And the CEO of the company, Ralph, he worked in lending. He started a company called ULend some time ago, and basically he was presented with this invoice for a payment to Hong Kong. And he realized that, I mean, firstly, the address information doesn't necessarily match up. There aren't any great translations. And then there's just streams of IBANs and SWIFT numbers and all this information on there. And it's kind of, you send it off and it's potluck whether it gets to the end. It's kind of like throwing a letter in the post to an address that's not spelled correctly and hoping it gets there. And that's really why these big companies like PayPal and Stripe that were focused on sort of business to consumer payments went into this business to business payments world, and they did well because there wasn't really a good solution there. So I guess that's what Ralph kind of tried to solve. And open banking is a great facility because with Crezco with payments, for example, once you sign up and you've like put your bank account details in so we know where to pay the money into, when someone goes to pay, they don't have to put any card details in because we're already integrated with the banks, and they don't need to put any bank details in. So they just go, look, I'm paying from Revolut, Monzo, Santander, and I authorize this payment, and it goes directly into their account because the banks are making the transaction, so we don't even handle any of the money. And I guess the main points that you can sort of improve from these Stripe payment systems is usually the price, because rather than going from bank to bank or account to account, they go through obviously Stripe themselves, and then Visa or MasterCard, card acquirer like WorldPay, they have to put it through a fraud engine because they're actually taking it into their bank account, and then it gets put out the other end sort of 3 to 5 working days later. So what Crezco is trying to do, and payments in general for businesses, is make it up to date with the technology we have in 2022. So that's a brief overview on who can use it. Mainly we're in touch with accountants at the moment because they're a great point to go to say, look, you work with a lot of different businesses, you focus on finance and payments yourself. We're generating these new products and they don't exist. So we need people to test them out, we need feedback, and accountants are a great route to get that. And thankfully the products seem to be fitting quite well. I mean, Martin signed up today and I think has had to play around with it. But really any business that needs to receive a payment and doesn't want to sort of do it manually or pay the fees that Stripe and PayPal will charge, we can help.
What's the biggest challenge then that you're facing with that right now? What is your, not necessarily Crezco, but you, Jake Tansley, when you're sitting there and that thing that's hurting your head and going, we need to resolve this. This is my challenge. This is my biggest challenge. What is that challenge, and what are you doing to tackle it?
Well, I think it was something that came up with my sort of first conversation with you as well, Martin, where I work in the sales team, so I'll phone someone up and I'll say that we've got this product, you can use it for completely free, there's no charge. We've partnered with loads of accountants. One of our biggest partners is Xero, and you can look at our reviews on Xero. They are all 5 stars with the highest rated payment app on Xero. And someone turns around and says, I don't trust it because it's too good to be true. And obviously that skeptical nature is good. I would kind of be worried if people were just like, yeah, great, let's sign up and send you my bank details. But often it's quite difficult to kind of have that opportunity to give them the information to make the decision a bit easier. So I guess the way I'm trying to tackle it is obviously improve on sales skills. I think sales has changed quite a lot over the last decade or so, from that kind of standard double glazing salesman, like in a ill-fitting suit going around trying to flog some cheap plastic, to when I phone someone up personally, the quickest route to sort of help them understand where we're going to add value is to understand what problems they're having at the moment, and then present them some solutions that we could help them with. And then if it works, then it works. Yeah, certainly the too good to be true line does come up quite a lot.
Peter, what about you? What's your challenge what's the biggest challenge at PDG advertising or generally, and what are you doing to tackle it?
What a great question for me. It is twofold. So it's recruitment and processes. So we are struggling we have this magic sea of work that needs to be done from all over the world. I've always been very good at, and I hope it rubs off on our clients' work as well, being able to attract new business and new customers in very, very easily. So the queue of customers to PDG for 7 years now has always been more than we can handle. And in the past 2 or 3 years, it's been even bigger. There's a longer queue of people that want to work with us. So, but we care about our current customers. So we don't want to add in a bunch of people without having the skill base to look after those customers, because we're not that agency. We're trying to do something different, something that has a a positive effect on our industry, which advertising and marketing is not the most squeaky clean of industries. So I'm trying to, as a team, we're trying to change that. But to do that, we need the ability to bring in excellent people, and it's becoming very tough to do that. We're not absolutely sure why. This has been going on mid-pandemic to now, where people aren't applying as much as they were, and there is so much competition for the small pool of candidates that it's very difficult to have people come in. But we're working on it, so that's what we're doing now. Also, when I say that there's two problems, one is processes. So advertising and digital advertising is incredibly fast. You're dealing with communication between, thousands of people at any given time. So there's always a lot going on, a lot moving. There's some real shifting sands at the moment. I was doing a strategy today, and whenever we suggest platforms for customers now, the top two that we're suggesting are Google and TikTok, whereas it used to be other social networks and maybe LinkedIn. But Google and TikTok are the top two. So that's relatively new. And what that means is that whole platforms are changing in the space of a couple of years. So it means that there's a lot to learn and a lot of different things. Creating processes and procedures for that, very, very difficult. So what we've done is we've enlisted the help of a local college, SRC, here in Portadown, Banbridge, Lurgan, and they're helping us with time to work out our processes and map out our processes in a kind of an academic way. And that's something that we're working on. But those, Martin, are two of the big challenges that we are facing. Background to yourself, how about you?
My problem, and these are going, Martin, you've got loads of problems. they're self-evident. Yeah, Martin, your problem. What is your problem? My problem in business is that I am like an opportunities machine. Opportunities just come at me from all angles. Oh, there's an opportunity. And, oh, look at that. Shiny stuff. That's an opportunity. And electric bikes. I could make money out of that. And I'm really good at creating business opportunities. And I'm also really good at making money from business opportunities. Every idea I actually focus on, I make money at it. It's not hard, to apply yourself, give people something that they want to pay you for, get paid, happy day. So I'm good at all that stuff. The difficulty is that there's only one me, and I'm a very poor leader. I don't want to be a boss. I don't want to have a whole team of people working around me telling me what, bothering me with their problems. Or I don't like that, and I'm sitting in the wrong seat, and I'm not getting paid enough. I don't want any of that. So I've got all these opportunities, which I should really be setting up small businesses for, and bringing in teams to make those things work. And I don't have the skill set to turn them into making me a multi-billionaire. In some ways, it's good because it keeps life interesting, and I'm always buzzing about from one thing to another. But the bad thing about it is that my number one focus has to be this. At the end of the day, it has to be Gilchrist and Co. Chartered Accountants and our clients, because it's our clients who are fantastic clients that look after me and Michelle, that look after the practice and keep us going. So I have to keep finding a way to bring me back to what it is that we do. And the way I do that, so that's the problem, all these opportunities, what do we do about it? And how, what I've done is, over many years of, going off in tangents and coming up with ideas and starting business, all the rest, is I have made the fundamental decision that I'm just not doing it anymore. I am just not going to go and start a electric car factory in Downpatrick, or a balloon hire business in the Mourne Mountains, or a new pop-up co-working shop in Belfast. I'm not doing it. And what that means is I now, every time I think of one of these brilliant ideas, no, I'm not. It's a wee bit like meditation. You know when they say when you have to meditate? Meditation is very good, by the way. Apparently, I'm good at it, but if you can't do it, it's very good. But the essential thing about meditation, you're sitting there going, or whatever it is you do, ring wee bells, all that good stuff, is that your mind will drift. You'll go, ice cream, chips, whatever it is. And what you're supposed to do is go, yes, I have drifted, but now I'm back. And you're back in your meditation again. And if the more you do that, the stronger you get, the better your meditation gets. I have realized I have to just keep coming back to Gilchrist and Co. because Gilchrist and Co is good and it does good stuff for me. And I just have to keep refocusing. So that's the answer to that question.
That's absolutely fabulous. Jake, could I, I'm sorry, just for someone who says it doesn't know much about meditation, I do know about meditation, and that is exactly what you're supposed to do whenever you drift off. And you're supposed to say, yeah, I've drifted, but I'm not going to keep drifting. I'm going to bring myself back by breathing in that. So you got that pretty spot on, Martin Gilchrist. Jake, to bring you back to something that you said, so I have that issue of, payments across the world. So our customers, we don't have, sorry, the majority of our customers are outside of the UK. So in Canada, Australia, America, where's the one I'm reaching for? South Africa, and Singapore. And what we find is that some countries have a friendliness with some banks, and some countries don't have a friendliness with some banks. So what works with one customer in an overseas payment will not work for another customer. And I haven't been able to find that out until the point of sending an invoice and then it not working and not being able to be sent back, which makes us look unprofessional and not good at all. What does your business, what does the business do for businesses like myself? And feel free to tell me if I'm veering off on the wrong course in my question.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm afraid I can't give you a precise answer because it is a problem that is the world over, and we're trying to solve that at the moment with a lot of our products. I mean, I guess the fundamental thing is that, and what's great about open banking is these banks have been left to kind of sit and hold a dominant position in the market for years and years and years, which inherently means they're not as agile and they will be less likely to kind of bend to these kind of needs of their end users. But then the other side of things is that, I mean, we use the term payment rails, so the kind of the route that the money takes to go from one bank account to the other. And for example, in the UK, we've got open banking payment rails. Like I've explained, the money goes directly from bank to bank because we can message between them, but not everywhere in the world has open banking as a kind of arrangement. I know Europe has PSD2, which differs slightly from the regulation in the UK. I know it's sort of getting larger in Canada, in Australia. So the challenge is, how can we initiate a payment here, send it along this payment rail, and then change currency or even change jurisdictions and then send it on the other payment rail, which is something that we've got our solution in sort of testing at the moment. I'm not exactly sure how much I'm allowed to say, but certainly if you can sort of send a payment from the UK to another currency, we likely be able to do that with open banking. And likewise, if you're a European business at the moment, if you send an invoice to the UK, they can pay it, and we can do all the currency transfer in between. So I guess this is the way that technology is moving, is that there's lots of complicated stuff in the background, but the way that you see it is you click on a link, you pay in euros, and your client receives it in sterling.
What about in 5 years then? So we have a virtual co-working space called Workshore in a virtual reality environment called VR Park. Or maybe it works already. Could we be using Crezco in virtual reality to take payments, or are we not there yet? Or is that something that's coming? Or what's your thoughts on the next 5 years in the payment technology field?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about virtual reality. I think you know a little bit more about me from our previous conversations, but certainly that sort of technology is evolving at the same time as this open banking technology is. And the way I see payments in the future, it's all going to move towards open banking because it just makes sense. It's the new update in technology. I mean, these payment rails, like traditional payment rails, so when you're making a debit card purchase, they've been around since 1960s, I think, and they haven't really changed. Although there have been companies like Revolut and Monzo that have come out, they're still just bank accounts. They're just sort of tech-savvy bank accounts. So this is the real like step up that we need in the finance industry for a long time, and I think therefore that momentum is going to carry on over the next 5 years. I mean, we've seen Go Cardless, who've been dominant in the direct debit market and payments in general. They've started doing open banking payments. Visa has just bought a large European player called Tink, and that's an open banking company. So these businesses that for the last 60 odd years have solely been doing regular payments are moving towards open banking now. So I couldn't tell you what it's going to look like, but it's certainly moving towards open banking, and it's pretty exciting.
Peter, what about you? Where's your world going to go in 5 years?
So what I'd like in 5 years is I'd like to have solved that recruitment problem, and I'd like to solve our processes problem. But we have some targets to meet, and they are financial and team-based. So in 5 years, if we're not at like a 10-person headcount, with beacon offices, perhaps in Dublin and in perhaps Scotland, I'd be sorely disappointed. And I hope to look back. So I'm 37 now. So whenever I'm 42, I hope that I can look back on this video, and Martin will and Jake, you'll come back on and we'll revisit where we are in those 5 years and see what we're doing. Martin, how about yourself? What do you want to be doing in 5 years?
Right, everybody has to remember. One of my questions is, and you can answer it after I answer this one. What is the thing you want to be remembered from this video? So Jake, think about that. What is it you want everybody to remember from this? Peter, what do you want everybody to remember from this? What I want everybody to remember. I can't say remember. How do you say remember? Remember? Am I saying that right? Remember? No. Anyway, what I want everybody to remember.
you got hung out to dry there and left.
Stayed on mute.
I'll remember that part of this this conversation.
I can't say remember. Is 3 letters. M, T, and D. MTD. What does MTD stand for? It stands for making tax digital. And why is that important? Because the system, HMRC, the government, and all those people that take money out of your pockets, whether you want to be taking it or not, are coming for you. And the way they're coming for you is through making tax digital. So anybody that's been getting paid by cash or has been doing those well, can you do it for cash sort of thing? That's all going away, because making tax digital is coming, and everybody's going to have to report using digital tools that are connected to HMRC and verified and authenticated and all that stuff. Now, the problem with that is that the whole world is moving towards making tax digital. Is that HMRC tried to do this about 5 years ago, and it was a total train wreck.
I remember this. There were adverts on the TV about it.
Yeah, it was
with a little bloke in a bowler hat.
That's the one,
right?
The HMRC guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
They give these guys, a couple of teenagers that came out of the tech with a BSc in computing. They give them £2 billion and said, go and build a system. And they must have spent the on good drink and bad women. I don't know what they did with the money, but they didn't build a computerized system. And it all crashed and had to go back to the olden days, except for VAT. And they've managed to get the VAT, and you maybe know this, Jake, through your dealings with technology. They managed to get the VAT system working off the backs of accountants. accountants had to make it work. We had to do all the stuff and pull all the strings and show HMRC actually what to do. And now that that's working, they're going to move it out to self-assessment tax returns. So over the next it's supposed to come in 2024. Mark that. It's like, remember the time the film came out, 2012, it's going to be the Mayans had said that this is going to be the end of the world and watch out and the suns are going to align, and and then there was a big film made about it. That's what's going to happen in 2004 for reality, making tax digital. So in the next 5 years, that's a lot of what we're going to be thinking about Gilchrist & Co. To do what Jake does with Crezco. Crezco makes getting paid dead easy. Gilchrist & Co. is going to make making tax digital dead easy.
What do you think is going to be the biggest issue around making tax digital over the next few years?
It's Jake, think about the process we went through to get Crezco onto my Xero account. It was easy. How long does it take? 5 minutes? Not even 5 minutes. Once somebody sits down.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even, maybe 2 minutes. You put in a couple of wee details, you press a button. Hey, presto, I can get paid for free from an invoice that I can send electronically. I could put a link onto this page right now and just say, if you like me, pay me. And boom, people can pay me money. As easy as that, just through a wee link. Why did I not sign up for that right away? Now, I would like to think I'm an educated, reasonable, sensible person who knows what's good for me. I didn't sign up for it right away. What do you think the chances are that people are going to do something that's really difficult, which making tax digital will be, which will take 3 or 4 days to resolve? And the moment they start pressing buttons, it's not like Crezco that's well built by people who know what they're doing. It's that they're going to get those people back from the tech, and they're going to be answering the question, hello, have you turned it off and turned it on again? It's going to be difficult, and that's the problem that's going to happen here. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, certainly this similar sort of sentiment I've seen from other accountants as well. Yeah, what about you, Peter? Have you got anything that's going to sort of change drastically in the next few years that may be a bit difficult to put through?
It's such a good question. Everything is changing all the time. So we live in this in digital advertising and advertising. I'll put it in a different way. Nothing changes at all, and everything changes. So the principles of advertising are the same. Get in front of your target market with the right message and make their purchase of your product as easy as humanly possible. A little bit like the interaction between yourself and Martin. In front of the right person and make it easy for them to say yes to what it is you have. But in other ways, everything is changing. So the difference between the Facebooks of the world and the TikToks of the world in terms of getting your message out, they are wildly different platforms. The speed of which these platforms come and go. A couple of years ago, Snapchat was really huge and said to take over Facebook. It is on the downslide now. Twitter died a few years ago, and it's certainly on the upside now, with billionaire takeovers in the makings and things like that. And I've kind of come to the realization that you cannot predict those changes that are going to happen on the digital platforms. You just have to try to surf the waves that are happening. You can't hold back the ocean, but you can learn to surf on those waves of content and trends and people and different opportunities that are out there. So the principles stay the same of getting in front of the right people and with the right message, with a good offer. But the way that you go about putting them online are changing rapidly. So who knows what type of platform will come next. Martin and I are, I would say, enthusiasts in things like virtual reality and new and innovative things. And just on a side note, Jake, have you ever gone into a virtual reality headset?
I love a gadget, and I'm a bit of a geek like that. When virtual reality was first coming out, I kind of tried it out a little bit, but yeah, when the technology has kind of lifted off over the last couple of years, I haven't actually tried it. So
Yeah. So as a 37-year-old bloke, I have bought an Oculus Quest headset for something like 300 quid. And I have to tear myself away from a first-person shooter. Now, I haven't played computer games to any level of investment of my time since Super Mario on the Super Nintendo. So there's been a 20-year gap of me ever playing a computer game. But this game, Population 1 on the Oculus Quest, is so immersive and so incredible. It is like reality. There's no doubt that it's like reality, and it's incredible. So something's happening there. There will be a shift in terms of something happening. It's not there yet because it's too bulky to you can't be on it for more than half an hour without it running out of battery, and it's too bulky. And also you can only do it within a certain space around you, because other than that you'll knock over someone or kill yourself. So that has to change. Whenever VR is sunglasses, and you can do it anywhere really, and it also stops you from knocking into things, that will be a huge shift. But it's incredibly lifelike, and that's why I'm thinking we can't predict what's going to happen in human communication and advertising, but there will be changes and things will happen that causes issue. We are coming, chaps, we are coming to the end of our business conversations cast. Jake, we are so delighted that you took the time to go through everything with us and be on our business conversations. I think you're our fourth guest, which is fantastic. But we always like to create a little bit of space just at the end for you to plug anything you want, or let people know how to sign up for the company or anything like that. So and then we'll pass it over to Martin to end us off. Jake, anything you want to go over? Sorry, there probably is a couple more things from Martin as well, actually. But is there anything you want to go over or let the audience know in our last moments?
Nothing in particular. I mean, firstly, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. So thanks both for inviting me on. And yeah, as I said, 5 years time, we'll have a recap and see what's happened. But I guess, I mean, in my day-to-day, either I come across people who are forced to use expensive payment solutions, or they're just processing everything manually. I would urge you to, if that is you, to spend 15 minutes on the phone with me, just to kind of see if we could help. And I'm sure we could do some way of either putting my email or diary link or whatever on anything to.
It'll be below this in the YouTube video.
Brilliant. But yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Jake, that's fantastic. Martin, over to yourself to finish us off.
I have to be completely honest, Jake, and I have to say I want it to be 5 years before we talk again. I want to find an excuse to talk to you again much sooner than that. I was on nosing on the Crezco social media type stuff recently, and I see very excitingly there is now a Crezco YouTube channel, a brand spanking new one. So there is, with only 5 wee videos on there. So I'm going to make I'm going to offer up Peter and myself as guests on there. So for you, if you ever want to see users who have actually tried it, talk about in our own inimitable way that we talk about stuff, come on and have a chat with you, or you and your team or whoever it is. I would be delighted to come on and have that. So I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to offer that. Anybody that's watching, I want to give a quick shout out to everybody that's joined us tonight. So Jamie Matheson. Jamie is the graduate intern or undergraduate intern with Gilchrist at the moment. We're delighted he just started with us this week, and we are delighted to have Jamie with us. And Jamie, thanks for joining us this evening. We have the brilliant James Perry, who was one of our guests a couple of weeks ago. Jake please do reach out to James Perry. He's a great guy, and I'm sure you guys would have interesting stuff to talk about. Declan Barry was on earlier. He's gone now. Again, reach out to Declan, Jake, because he will be an interesting person for you to talk to. These are all great guys. They're all like me, enthusiastic, entrepreneurial types who believe that a rising sea lifts all ships. You're a good guy. They're good guys. When you bring good guys together, magic happens. And finally, anybody who's watching this and has watched it to now, you've watched an hour of this. Hopefully that means it's brought a bit of value. And I always ask the same thing. There's a subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. Press it. We've got 21 subscribers at the moment. After Jake being on, I imagine that's going to go up to about 3,000 or so. But,
of course.
You know, of course.
At least.
Well, it'll start off with Jake pressing the button. So that'll be we'll be up to 22. And people in Jake's team, I think it's like a charity thing, Jake. Go around the office and just get everybody to press the button. That'll be 5 more likes.
Yeah, I'll force them. Don't worry. Yeah.
Put their finger on the button.
Exactly.
But anybody's on, go on. Please do subscribe. Why? Because it makes it feel like we're doing something that's it is worthwhile, but it's validation. I suppose validation. And if you're watching this and you thought, you know, that looks like fun, I want to have a coffee type catch up with Peter and Mark. Reach out to us. Because we want you sitting in Jake's seat. We want to enjoy the conversations and stories and the news and the information and the inspiration and the motivation that you have to share with us. So please do reach out and do that. And the final thing is next week, Lisa Park, the architect. Imagine, we're getting very posh and fancy on Business Conversations, is coming to join us and tell us her fascinating story about living in Australia and becoming an architect and then coming back here and setting up her own practice and all the exciting and interesting stuff around that. So there's lots to see, lots to come. Peter, that's me finished.
Well, one last piece of business to take care of. So we need to name this episode. I have 2 suggestions. Do either of you have any suggestions for the name of this episode?
I'm not the creative mind for this, I'm afraid. I think I'm going to pass it over to Martin if he's got any ideas.
You know what? I had one in my head, and you want to just slips off the tip of your tongue. It's gone, and it was the best name you could have ever. It's like the fish that got away. It
was the best one ever, but now it's not there. Right, that's a bit of a cop out. But
let's go with your Peter. You're always excellent.
Right, we've got 2. We've got introduction in a teacup. That term will stay with me for forever. And we also have good drink and bad women.
Oh, I can't use the good drink and bad woman one.
Of course we can't use the good drink and bad women. of course we can't. But it certainly was said. So no, we can't use that one. I think it's going to likely be introduction in the teacup.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm not actually allowed to say that anymore. You're not allowed to say it. It's not polite to say good drink and bad women, so I shouldn't have used it. So I'm in trouble already. So I think we'll go with the teacup one if you're okay. If that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect.
I think that will be the one that we will be going with. So, thank you again, Jake, so much for coming on to speak with us on Business Conversations. Martin, thank you very much for being our excellent co-host as well. And as you say, we can't wait to next week for our next business conversation. And we'll be here at the same time. If you want to join us, come on and join us. You want to watch the catch up, you can do it on YouTube, and there'll be a link in our profile. So everyone have a great evening, and we'll see you next week.
Cheerio.
Thanks very much.